no idea that you did all the stuff that you did.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to the acting, the audio recording, like the general jobs that you've done, I had no idea.
Mm.
It was only afterwards, when I think you tagged me in the photo, like the group photo of everyone. I was like, "Oh, Charlotte, okay." I don't know if I'd followed you beforehand or not, but I saw it. I was like, "Oh my god, you're doing all these things. This is so cool. I wish I'd known this because I would have spoken to you about it beforehand."
Yeah, I think because when we were there, it was so I think you get so encapsulated being in the bubble that you like forget about what everyone does outside of it. And I think because it's season air work and so many people were doing seasons back to back, and I think it's because it's so different. It's such a different industry as well. A lot of people would have been because I know I showed Freya and Meg some of my stuff, and they were like, "What? Like it is weird. It's very different. Um,
Yeah,
it's a
I
very
I get that. I get the kind of same. I don't know if it's a feeling that you get because I get the same thing. Like if ever I'm trying to do this podcast or like I'm trying to record a video somewhere or something, you just kind of get that little bit of a feeling where it seems a little bit awkward still because it's not like a normal type of
mm,
job compared to what most people are used to. But because I've
yeah,
seen a few
exactly.
of your TikToks, I saw a few of your TikToks whilst I was out there. I was like, oh, they look so cool. They're well edited. They're well put together. I just didn't know that
Yeah.
was kind of like your passion was in within media.
Yeah, I think well, I didn't actually know that I loved social media and like like content creating before I'd done. So one of my again one of my fun random jobs that I done was the year before I came away on the season actually. I did a year working in social media for a live music venue.
Oh,
And
sweet.
it was in London. And it was all like request based. So like all of the musicians, um uh everything would be requested by the audience. So you'd like write down what you want on a slip of paper, and then hand it to the musicians, and then they would perform it live for you. And there was a separate room that was just musical theatre. So I did social media mainly for that, but sometimes in the main venue as well. And it just came like quite naturally. I think I'd never really thought about it because I think I've always made travel montages when I was away, but I always just thought
Mm.
it was something for me. And then when I started doing it, I think one of my friends worked there and she helped me get the job. And I said, I'm not really qualified. Like, I don't have like any degrees from uni. Like, I don't have any like social media experience. And she was like, you don't really need it because if you do it and it comes naturally, then it's fine. And then it was one of the
Mm.
best jobs ever. I just to make TikToks. Like, it didn't seem like a job.
Wait, so
It
what
was so
theatre was
fun.
this then?
So it was a place called the Piano Works, and basically the branch that I predominantly worked in was called Sing Easy, and it was just like a restaurant, bar, nightclub place that was just open in London in the West End, and you basically went in, and I mean you could go in for a night out. We had lots of people doing like bridal showers there, or just like going for dinner, and like a lot of people at uni probably know it because it's like a good place. They stay open till like 3, and you can just sort of like they do like all the classic songs. And the best part is it's live music till like 1 a.m. So
Oh,
you
wow.
can just like request whatever you want, and it's such a fun place to work. And I met so many cool people working there as well because I'd never worked in that environment with that many like young, fun people. Um,
Yeah,
it was
I
really
love
good,
it as
really
well.
cool.
I mean, there must be like, especially being around such talented musicians, because it's one thing people being a musician, but it's another thing completely being able to play something completely off the fly by
Mm-hmm.
request. And it could
Mm.
be a mashup, it could be a mix, it could be anything. It's like, right, let's go for it. And then they're just right, 2 seconds. Okay, I've got it. And then they just go straight
Yeah.
at it. Those
Mm.
people in general tend to be like the most amazing people to be around. And you've probably found it now
Yeah.
within yourself, within your line of work and things you're passionate about. Creative people are the most
Mm.
weird and wonderful people in the world.
Yeah, they really are. No, they
So
are.
it's,
They are.
yeah, so it's from doing that, we're speaking to them all the time, constantly. And then I've seen a few of the things that you do, like you were running the art class, was it?
Yeah, so that's another job. That was again through like so many of my jobs that I do is just all networking. It's all word of mouth. And I could very easily just do one job and work it 9 to 5, but it be flexible to still do auditions. But I don't like being like tied down to one thing. Um, I like doing lots of different things. I'm doing something different every day. So like so that one is basically it's a company called Brush and Bubbles, and it's very sort of simple acrylic canvases that we take it through step by step, and the teacher just leads the class. So it's for kind of people who haven't like painted since like childhood, or they want to do something like fun with like their friends for their birthdays. And I'd never even thought about doing it, but then someone at one of my other jobs was like, "Oh, I do this thing. It's like to do with painting." And again, I was like, I don't have an art degree. Like, I don't have like so much of my head was like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not a teacher. I'm not an art. And they were like, you don't have to be. You just like so many of my jobs, and that's why they love working with actors, is because we're just so used to taking on a character anyway. If it
Yeah.
involves basically pretending to be a teacher and leading a class through an hour's workshop, then it's like great. They can do that easily. So definitely helps.
It's like you're actually embodying fake it till you make it rather than every
Mm,
role. You're just like really
literally,
good.
yeah,
You must be really good through interviews. Just any
yeah. I
interview
mean,
in
a lot.
general.
Yeah, one of the current jobs I have at the moment, working at
One
this
of.
gym. Yeah, this it's ridiculous. I can't keep track of them. And one of them, the guy, one of my managers was like, "We really didn't see this side to you in the interview," and I was like, "Yeah, I have to be really professional and to like, you know, come
Wait,
across well." And then
which
now
job
I'm
was this
like,
for?
I can just be. This was for at the gym, so it's like working front of house at a gym, and it's lots of like-minded people. A lot of them are creatives because it's 0 hour contract, so it means we can all get cover if we have auditions or gigs come through, which is really nice.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and we get like a free membership to the gym as well, so saves buying the gym membership.
Yeah, I work at a gym at the moment over in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a PT now.
Oh,
I do,
exciting!
yeah,
That's so cool.
do my personal training. So like that gym environment as well, that
Mm,
you could probably attest for, is everyone there is has the mindset of trying to improve themselves,
mm,
or like that kind of personal progression, or that they've all got
yeah.
something in their minds they want to work towards, and that kind of
Hmm.
spreads throughout the whole gym. Like whether it be members or people that work there, everyone's there like
Yeah.
with a purpose for being there as well. So to have that for
Mm,
yourself with the creative side of things, there's a lot of people doing the same kind of line of work as you, where it's as you say, 0 hour contracts for it. That's got to be pretty great to have those people around you, and all of them are like on a mission, on their own little
yeah.
personal mission and journey to go through it.
Yeah, definitely. It's lovely. It's a very nice environment to work in with the people that I meet, because before, kind of how I got like why I did the nannying on the season was a lot of my work post sort of graduating from drama school was nannying, which I loved and it taught me so much, but it became very lonely very quickly because it was just a lot of
Mm.
private like one-on-one nannying, and I would be with a lot of like toddlers and babies, and like it was a wonderful job, but at the same time I would spend like my sort of 8 till 5 p.m. days on my own. And it like was sometimes nice, but sometimes you'd be a bit like, oh, I just need a bit more like interaction.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a blessing and a
yeah.
curse that toddlers don't talk back.
Hmm. Yeah. Some of them I'd be like, oh, this is a great day to have a toddler. Others I'd be like, anything else? We getting anything else? No, but anyway.
No,
Yeah.
nothing's wrong them. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean that's what led it. Well, so you did the nannying, and that led you to doing the season. How long were you doing the
Yeah.
nannying
So I don't,
for?
so I think nanny. God, I mean, I started just like babysitting as a teenager, and then it was when I graduated from drama school. Basically, started with an agency that was a girl who was the she was the founder of the agency. She went to my drama school as well, and she basically set up a company that was designed that all of the nannies were creatives. So all of the
Ah,
nannies were actors, musicians, singers, and then all of the families were also actors, singers, directors, creatives. So it was kind of like a mutual understanding of, if you've got an audition that comes up last minute, we've got a team of 4 nannies on your family that you can like pick from. And then
oh no
basically if you
way.
have an audition last minute, they can find you cover. So it was really good kind of like first job to have, and I met some really cool people, worked with some really lovely families. Um got to like go on set of like TV shows like with the babies, which was quite cool. So it
Everyone
was
says, like, "Oh, look at her, oh, single
yeah,
mom working her ass off."
yeah. Honestly, they'd be like, but also having a baby on set is great because everyone wants to see the baby. So they'd like come up to me and be like, "Oh my gosh, who's this?" And I'd be like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm also an actress."
This
But
isn't my baby.
yeah, no, yeah, it's not my baby. It's just part of the act, you know. But that was really. I still work for them now. Still do some jobs every now and again. And it's a lovely company. So that was really fun. And then, yeah, I'd always loved skiing, like, grew up doing it sort of like on and off, and always wanted to do a season, but never really knew how. Like, I kind of thought, like, surely it's too good to be true that people can go and work and ski at the same time. And
Exactly the
then,
same.
yeah,
Yeah,
but then COVID hit, and it was just so many like knockbacks that I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get out there. And then I think when I was doing the social media job, I thought I'm just gonna have to try and do it and just go. And then that was it. And then I just started applying and had a job within like a week. And I was like, well, I'm off in 2 months. That's it.
honestly,
Yeah.
it's such a weird thing to think about. Like, the common theme I keep seeing for all the jobs that you've been applying for and just getting is like you not believing that you can get them because you feel like almost like an imposter. Like stepping up to
Mm,
them is like, oh, this isn't me. This isn't what I normally do. Like, I've not got the experience here. But then straight away being like, yeah, come along and give it a go. But then having the
yeah.
confidence to say, yeah, actually, I can do this. And if I can't do
Mm,
this, then I can play a character that can do this. Like having that sort of
yeah.
idea, because I did the exact same with childcare. Like when I started doing that, so we
Mhm.
obviously met on the season.
Mm,
I only did childcare part time in a similar way that you did, just because I had other things I was doing, and it's quite a fun job. It's quite rewarding. It's not too stressful. It's just on the side. But like I had big groups of kids the whole time,
mm,
so I was in that same vein, effectively playing a character. Like whenever I first step in front of them, I wouldn't be like me talking one to one. It'd be like you'd be larger than life, and you'd bring that energy to the whole group, and you get everyone involved. And with kids, I almost feel like that's a very good intro. Well, I mean, I'm not an actor. I don't do any that as much, obviously, to the degree that you do. I always feel like with children, it's a great way to practice in front of an audience because it is still a live audience. However, you just do not feel like you're being judged anywhere near as much as
yeah.
people your own age. And even if they were, you don't
Yeah.
really care because, come on, they're kids. But then
Mhm.
those skills, I believe, well, I would say were massively transferable because you'd step in front of a group of
Yeah.
kids and like they can smell weakness on you straight away. So as soon as you lose that kind of, as soon as you lose that control over a situation or a room or a group, it's gone. And I can imagine that being very
Yeah.
similar to being on stage in theatre in front of a live audience.
Mm. Definitely, yeah. I think it's yeah, but the kid thing I think is funny as well because 'cause they're so brutally honest. But it is like I still nanny for one of the families I actually met on the ski season in London, which was again another like great connection. But like we did a what did we have the other day? Oh, I was with them the other day, and they were sort of asking for their iPads, and I was like trying to stay away from iPads because I feel like once you get given to iPads, there's just no coming back from it.
Yeah,
But I
no.
was like, they love playing and they love games, and they're so good at like playing on their own. But I was sat down doing dinner. I was like, I'm gonna have to think of something here, and they didn't want to play these games. So I think we read a book, read The Little Mermaid, and then I was like, have you seen the musical? And then it led to putting on the Little Mermaid, and then I doing about 2 songs full out in the kitchen in front of them, just like singing. And they were honestly gobsmacked. They were literally like, it was like they'd never seen it before. And I was like, I'm just gonna
So
have to keep going because
Ariel?
they're eating their dinner. This is like proactive. I was like exhausted, but I was like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, it is the same. It's like keeping that engagement as when you have like a live audience. And I think it's one thing that I've found is I would much rather in the weirdest way, get up on stage and perform in front of a big live audience than I would in front of like an intimate audience. Like my family used to always
Mm.
say, like when I'd go home, they'd be like, "Oh, just get up and sing a song. Just get up and like you do that all the time." And it's more nervous sitting in a room with people that you know, looking them in the eye, than if you're on a stage and it's like blackout in the audience. You can't see them, so it's like you're performing to a huge
I
crowd, but at the same
I
time,
can imagine.
can't see
Yeah. And yeah, I mean,
them. So
it's
yeah.
especially think of all the countless people now, especially who speak to thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people online through like videos,
Mm.
podcasts, whatever it might be, and they're fine with that because they don't. Even though there's going to have people they know personally who are watching that, they're not talking directly to an individual. They're just talking to like a
Yeah.
wider group. But then, so I used to have it with my ex girlfriend. She used to be a singer songwriter, Well, she still is, and she'd
Mhm.
be fine performing in front of bigger audiences because you can't really look any of them in the eye, like you say. But as soon as she went to those
Yeah.
kind of intimate open mics, one-on-ones, where she knows everyone in the audience, she sees them every week, but then she's singing directly to them. It's like a different
Mm.
kind of fear that comes along with that.
Yeah. Mm.
Do you find that as well with? Cause, so, all right, I'm gonna get to it anyway. Obviously, you're doing your acting and you're doing
Mhm.
your auditions for it. I see you're on set a few times at the moment, and you're doing different
Yeah, that
things.
has been fun. Yeah.
What, firstly, what are you recording? Or what are you filming or shooting for at the moment?
So the one I did one a week, 2 weeks ago, and that was actually um just it was sort of like a featured essay role. So an essay role is like a supporting actor. So it's literally just an extra job. Honestly,
Hmm.
anyone can do it. It's not that fancy. But it's this
What time
agency that I
around the
work
set
for.
though?
Yeah, exactly. And I initially wanted to, so at drama school, they kind of put you off it because they're like, don't be a background actor. Like anyone can do it. Like you'll get known on the set for being the background actor. And it's ridiculous because you can be amongst 100 people and they see the back of your head. And for me, it was more about an experience of going on a set and learning
Yeah.
on a set because I trained in musical theatre. So it was a lot more theatre and singing and we had like dance and acting, but there wasn't so much focus on TV and film. So when I
Mm.
sort of about a couple of years ago, I signed up to some agencies and I was like, I just need to be on set to kind of learn what life is like on a set. Um, so the one I did a couple of weeks ago was like a featured essay role. So it was on a Christmas film that's coming out end of this year. But even like, I mean, I'm in it for like a split second, but because I'm face on to camera and I'm reacting, I'm like frowning in it. Um, they were like, okay, you need to self tape. Are you going to be okay with this? I had to like go in and have like a full like fitting in the morning, like had full like hair and makeup done. And it was great because I was kind of treated more like a like named part in it. Whereas when you're an extra, you're
Yeah.
very much sort of like the bottom of the food chain, like nobody cares about you. Whereas like this was a bit like, oh, like everyone knew me by name. They were asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. So it was
Oh,
very nice
nice.
to have um, and then back sort of about 4 or 5 months ago, I wrapped on my first feature film where I was a part. That was a Bollywood film. So that's
Oh,
coming out
sweet.
in June, I think. It was supposed to be Feb, but it's been pushed back.
So
So that was like my first.
when you said you rapped on that, is that
Mhm.
what I'm thinking of? You actually rapped on it, or
So
is
rap,
that some
yeah.
kind
So
of
if you say
technical term?
you just means like you yeah we finished on it like we wrapped the film so it's
Okay,
wrapped
okay.
up.
I was thinking that in my head. I'm like, oh, it's Bollywood. There's lots of singing and dance. I've got to ask the question.
Yeah, no, yeah. So we wrapped on that it was a very short run actually. It was literally from they like to move really quickly in Bollywood films, and they came to London to do it, and I think it was about a 6 week run, which is very quick, and it was sort of between mid August to early October, and my character didn't go to India, but my screen mum went. So we were sort of like an English family within an Indian story. So
Oh,
that's why we were cast in it. But yeah, it was very cool, but very different to being on a British film set as well. So like a whole new set of skills I got to learn, and
so
they
how was
are
that different then?
very. So they're much more. They have one phrase. Probably a good example is it called the rodeo? They have one where they basically will just do whatever they want regardless of what's going on. So like in London, filming is very strict. You have to have like a permit if you want to film on the street. You have to have
Yeah.
the right sign. You've got to like tell people like we are filming, like careful. And at one point they said we're going to do this scene on the roof of a London bus and we're going to drive over Tower Bridge. And I was like, wow, that's pretty epic. Like they must have a big budget for that. They literally just like flagged down a toot bus, and I don't know if they paid off the driver. I don't quite know what happened, but we ended up on the rooftop of this London bus with tourists still on it. And the tourists,
It's like involuntary
and
extras.
we were literally like, oh my gosh. And then they started rolling, they started filming, and it's kind of supposed to look like a music video in the film. So they had like a leaf blower. They were like blowing the lead guy's hair. He was like singing, and we were all sort of like, woo, like on the top of this London bus. There's just things like that. They don't care. They'll be like, right, let's just do it, see what happens.
Is it sort of
So I
like
think
a Sacha Baron Cohen movie? It's like no one
I
knows that they're actually filming.
Yeah, probably. It's probably what's gonna come across that, I don't know. But it was very fun and we got to film in some very cool locations and it was a lovely cast and once I got to know them and we were like settled, it was nice. I think they were just more in I think just British culture, it kind of reflects on what it's like when you film over here. Everything's like by the by, and they've got a lot of rules, and it's like this person will collect you at this time, and what can I get you for this time, and this, and there's very like laid out. Whereas
Yeah,
Bollywood is kind of just free for all. They'll be a bit like, oh, do you want this? Do you want that? Like, oh, we're gonna film this now. We've not got enough time. Let's move on. Let's do. It's just scattered. It's just chaos.
yeah. So it's
Um,
almost organized chaos, like you say.
yeah,
So
organized chaos. But yeah.
that sounds like well, it sounds like a very chaotic environment, and I imagine as a director, you've just got to be pulling your hair out constantly. But it sounds like from an actor's point of view, or especially like a young actor's point of view, like yourself, it's got to be quite fun. Like, and not having, because you hear a lot of things behind the scenes with actors, and as much as they love their job and they love doing the role, there's a lot of mundane, menial take after take, and really,
Mm,
really organized, especially from
yeah.
directors with massive budgets, because that budget has to be as efficient as possible.
Oh yeah, like so there's someone again the difference between it the Bollywood one we would literally do again I don't know if it's because it was the English takes and it is a Hindi film so I think they're keeping our lines in English but it's predominantly about the Indian story but they would focus in on the English actors in our very very short scenes and we'd literally do one take and they'd go done move on and we'd be like what? Like, and even just one take is risky because it's like there could be audio problems, there could be like it could be clip, like there could be so many
Anything.
issues, and we would be like, one take, seriously? And then they'd be like, right, quick, move on.
But
Whereas this British one that I did the other day, I think it's an American director, but
mm,
filmed in London. I think we were doing one scene that was probably about 30 seconds to 2 minutes long, and we were doing it for 2 hours. And it was the same thing of like ready rolling like you get used to all the sort of stages of how they call it but we would get a certain point and they'd be like no reset 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 and even the
so are they looking for a particular thing then, or is it just even if the takes there's nothing wrong with it, they're still just going to do multiple takes?
sometimes they just do it from so they'll do like a wide shot or a narrow shot they'll do it from sometimes camera A and camera B so you'll have different angles and then also I think the issue that they had when we were on set was that we were under a flight path so you could hear the planes and
Yeah.
every time they complained, they'd be like, "No, reset," and we'd be like, "Ah!" And then I think they had like a lot of police sirens and stuff. They're filming in the middle of London, like it's quite hard to avoid that. But yeah, it can be really, really small things. Continuity as well of the background actors, like if they're walking in different time, or like if my like I kept they had to keep coming over and changing my hair because the wind was blowing. So if the wind like blew some of my hair, they'd be like, "Quick, get it back." My
Dude,
my,
I've
my
never actually
veil
thought
flew
about
off.
that.
Yeah,
Your veil, were you a bride?
it's yeah. So I was a bride in it. My veil flew off and flew at the camera, and I just had to, I kind of like froze, and then no one called it, so I just carried on. I was like, okay, we're carrying on then.
For the bleepers reel.
But yeah, they're very very particular. I mean, like the dress that I was in it wasn't like I didn't have a previous fitting for it, so they just fitted for me on the day, and it was quite like it was like very tight and it got about halfway up my back and they couldn't do like the buttons all the way up so they were like lacing it and they basically sewed me into this dress and you didn't even see the back of my dress but they were like covering it up they were like nothing could be seen like just in case the director suddenly was like no she needs to turn around and walk the other way like everything has to be like perfect and ready to
Yeah.
go
But then
on my
that's
anyway.
that's kind of like a director's mindset though, I feel.
Mm.
Like directors are so attention to detail orientated. I don't know if you knew of like Steven Spielberg. He was obviously no, he is obviously, but like he's like such attention to detail of everything that he does. Like where beforehand,
Hmm.
before he was a director, he used to do the sets, like little
Hmm.
miniature sets before there was
Yeah.
CGI. So he used to do all
Mhm.
that really small detail. Obviously, that makes it look like it's from far out, like a zoomed out scene. So that's been with everything he does. So like when he did the Titanic, he'd do the same thing like you're on about with the dress, where everything's got to be perfect, but then down to the very
Mhm.
finest detail, to the point where they were making sure that on the bottom of every bit of pottery was accurate with the painting of the date and like the
Yeah.
signature from who made it,
Mhm.
regardless of it was never intended to be shot. It was never going to be seen, but he wanted to make this an absolute biopic of what the
Yeah.
Titanic was like.
Great
And
the
like
yeah.
obviously he's a directing legend, a movie cinema legend.
Mm.
But I imagine so many directors who have that same kind of brain process of right, I am painting this picture, I am creating this entire world. I feel
Mm.
like as an actor, that's got to be it's got to be very encapsulating to be a part of.
Yeah, it is, it really kinda takes your breath away, like, some of the sets of things that I've been on, you just think, like, "This is what it always looks like," and then you realise, no, they've actually like, the one that we did was supposed to be an antiques bridal shop, and it was a Barbers in Southeast London. Like, they'd completely painted it, they'd, like, got dresses in the window, like, the whole thing had been done just for that 30-second take. Like, it was
Yeah.
yeah, it is amazing the worlds that they, like, create and the sets that I've been on are very cool, some of them, yeah.
What was the coolest sets then? Would you say? Whether you walked in, you were
Um,
like, "Oh my god."
some of them I'm trying to think back, I did quite a few. There was one that I did that came out that I never actually this is, like, the also very realistic day of if you're an extra on a set is it was a film that's just come out, a George Clooney one called Boys in the Boat, and, it's, yeah.
Sorry, I'm shaking my hand and whatnot because there was a guy we were with Ski for Me
Oh,
when I
yeah.
did my interview with Ski for Me,
Uh-huh.
and he was actually became the head. He was the head chef at Leger.
Oh.
He he was the stunt double for the main
Oh, no.
character in Boys in the Boat.
Oh my so I've not actually seen it, I don't know, but it was a really big film, and I literally just did one day, got called in, it was, like, out in Henley somewhere, and I spent 3 hours in hair and makeup, and they, like, basically wanted to, like, pin curl my hair like they would have been in the era. So they pin curled it all, put it
Yeah,
on a net, let it in left it in heated rollers. I think I was the last person to get to set. Got to set, and they were doing, one of the shots on the river of them rowing. I think it must have been one of the boat races. I'm not sure because I think they had people who were sort of spectators, and then they had George Clooney. I think was in the boat 'cause some of the people were like, "George Clooney's on the test," like they were like, "He's up there." And we literally went and sat in a marquee in this field for 2 hours, and then they went, "Yeah, they don't need you today, so you can all go home." I felt so bad for the
what?
hair and makeup team because they'd spent about 3 hours on my hair, and I didn't even make it to set. And then I got back. So that one, it was cool, but I never got there. And then I was in we did You season 3. That was quite cool. That was quite cool because it was an American show and they were doing it all in London.
Wait, is that the
And it was in the,
season 3?
yeah, it was in a very gothic church,
That's,
which was quite cool. Or maybe season 4.
wait, is it the one that's come out already?
Yeah, it's out like the
Yeah,
first part.
the last one was in London, wasn't it?
I think it's season 4 or
I don't
3.
know.
The one
I know
that's
which
in
one
London.
you mean. Yeah,
That's bad. I
the
can't.
one that
Yeah.
came out whilst we were in France.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's that one. Um, And then it's weird because you forget about the things that you've done, and sometimes you don't know as well because they have cover names. So they'll have
Uh,
cover names like I can't. Boys in the Boat. What was that called? It had a cover name. They're usually quite relevant to it, so it'll be called like Boat Race or something. And then You season
uh,
4 was called. The cover name for that was Loveless. Um, Not that it makes that much of a difference, but
wait,
they
so
have
you
these covers.
don't know what it's for then when you're going on the show?
Most of the time, no. If we just get like the email
What?
through, we'll get the cover name, and then when we're on set, they'll be like, or unless you can figure out from seeing the lead actors, if you see them, a lot of the time you won't know.
Is that like an NDA type of thing? Just like so they're trying to keep it secret, or
I think so. I guess yeah, because we're not allowed to take like any footage of the sets or the costumes or anything, we're not really allowed to post anything. We have to be quite careful with. I mean, not that anyone's really going to find out from an extra, but like they just don't
Don't
like
put
people
yourself
going on
down here,
set.
Charlotte. Of course they could.
Yeah, well,
Come
they
on.
probably could. But yeah, it kind of just depends what it is. Like one thing that I did, it was like it was a pilot for a Sky comedy show, and it was a last minute. Someone dropped out, so I got called in to do it, and I had to be a scarecrow, but it was like
That's-
it was like the imaginary best friend. No, your childhood imaginary best friend that you have. Basically, some of them in this show were devils, and some of them were like good. Some of them good, and some of them were bad. And mine was a
Wait,
bad one.
what show was this?
I don't think it was a pilot on Sky Comedy, and I don't know if it was ever aired because it's on my IMDb credits, but I've never actually seen it be advertised. It was called Real Friends, and it was about
Oh.
this friendship of basically this woman that had grown up and she'd never really been able to forget her imaginary friend. So he sort of pops up. He's called Mr. Whippy, and I was the imaginary friend of one of the other characters, and I was this person called the Scarecrow, and I had to be painted orange. So I had this scarecrow dungarees, and then I had this mental wig, and my whole body, like anything that wasn't in dungarees, I had to be painted orange, and that was very interesting. I got given like a line or something for that. But I don't think again that was like a pilot, so they were just testing it to see if they could get funding for a series. I think so.
Yeah.
It might maybe something will come of it in the future. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, some very weird and wonderful sets I've been on.
I love
So
the idea of it. I love the whole ethos behind like the acting scene and media
mm,
itself. The idea of creating a world like we were on about earlier, of
yeah.
out of thin air completely. From normally there's a small handful of people, and they've built this whole universe, and to live in that realm, like whilst they're creating the stories for the people, the dialogues, creating the characters themselves. Do you have kind of a
Mm.
similar idea behind your acting? Is it similar to like that method acting kind of practice, or is
I
it just
think
kind of oh just straight in?
I think I've sort of been on like a bit of a journey with it. I think in drama school, you very much think, right, this character, I'm going to possess this traits of this character, um, and you sort of really try and be that character and that person. Whereas I think definitely since I've got older and since I've sort of worked on more things and also just been around actors, I think is in life as well as you mature, I think you kind of think I try and make things more naturalistic now. So if I'm doing a
Hmm.
self tape and it's like a bit hysterical or if it's a bit more emotional, I kind of have to like really like the Bollywood film. The scene I did was never in the film, but it was about like losing her mum in hospital. So I had to like kind of work myself up in the self tape
Mm.
as if it was I was seeing my mum in hospital. So that was like one I had to cry for, which I'd never really had to do before, which was a bit weird. But yeah, I think if there's anything which my flatmates are that we're really good together because they are all actors as well, so we'll help each other with tapes a lot. And I think I get in my head quite a lot. So if I'm doing a self tape for something, I'll be like, it just doesn't feel like right. And my flatmate Abby will be like, well, just say it how you would say it. How would you say this line? And then it gets into your body more. You're not as like tense, and you're like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
then it comes across so much better. So I think that's definitely something I've thought. Like, don't try and make it look like you're being a character. You just do it. I guess. I don't know
Well,
if
that's
that
some.
makes sense.
No, it does for sure, 100%. Like I think of it in terms of like from what you've just said. So many great actors, or not so necessarily great
Mm,
actors, but more well-known actors. Um, a lot of them are just playing slight tweaks on their own character, on their own person.
yeah, an
Like,
exaggerated version.
yeah, so like a massive
Mhm,
example of that being like Ryan Reynolds, for example. Like almost
mhm.
all of his characters are, you just know it's him. It's him
Yeah.
from what you can see. Like you've seen interviews with him, you've seen what he's like on set, on films, you see that, and it's like, okay, it's him, just dropping that character into a different role,
Mhm. Yeah.
which I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I feel like to become a better actor, it's almost like if you're going to tell a good lie, it's got to be based loosely on the truth.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
would you say it's similar with
100%.
acting, that if you're going to be a great actor, it's got to be your character shining through, just as if you were dropped into those situations? Like, how would Charlotte Hazelby act in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like what you bring to the role, and like some of them have been, I'm sure, very far from like your personality. Like I've seen lots of like live theatre productions or films where you just think like, gosh, I've seen them in something else and they've been so different. But it's just how, because we're like basically professional storytellers, or like professional
Mm.
pretenders, I guess people like to say. But it's like you bring to it, but also at the end of the day, you're just portraying what somebody else is going through in life as well. So it's a very odd concept of like embodying that, but bringing your own version of it to it
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
guess.
well, in the end of the day, we're all very similar in terms of how we think and feel. We're just at different
Mm.
ends of those spectrums. So I feel like whenever it comes to acting, especially, if you can kind of put yourself in those shoes into that situation, yes, I feel like theatre might be a little bit different. Theatre is very much over the top in certain aspects with certain
Mm-hmm.
characters, compared to being on screen, where it's almost got to be seamless between real life and cinema. So like putting yourself in those shoes, it's got to be easier or come more naturally for certain things than others. So if given your experience and given your what you see or what you take yourself as, who would be the ideal role? The ideal role which you see, well, or in a movie that you love, not necessarily that you'd love to play, but who would that be? Right, that's you to a T. You feel like you could smash that role.
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. Smash that role. Yeah. Oh, that's really hard actually. There's lots of things that I watch that sort of like, I feel like there's two things that I would love to do. Um, One of them has always been like Bridgerton style.
Mm.
We all want to be like the ingenue, like you want to be
Yeah,
like the leading lady in a period dress who's like running through the moor.
yeah,
Um, but then there's been so much stuff over the last few years that I think has really like pushed what we're used to sort of watching. I guess so, like Daisy Edgar Jones and like Normal People, like loved that. I still watch that like on repeat. And then kind of like similar along the, I think like coming of age things I love.
yeah.
Like there was one the Dolly Alderton adaptation of Everything I Know About Love. I've never watched something and been like, oh my gosh, that's actually like my life. Like I think when I watch things and I'm like, I can imagine that group of people on set would be so fun to be around, and like you
Yeah.
could really like really relate to it where you are in your life at that moment. So yeah, those are kind of just, I don't know, but then I love Dairy Girls as well. Not that I could ever be in Dairy Girls, but like Dairy Girls, one
In
of
a
my favorite.
Scottish adaptation of Derry
I think it's,
Girls,
yeah,
what would
I
it be
think it's
called?
absolutely brilliant.
Edinburgh
Yeah.
Babes.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I've always, nothing like too serious, but then I love watching crime drama as well. So I
So
think God, if someone,
I could see you, like envision you right now, dressed up in like the um,
yeah,
full police
yeah,
attire, the cap on, walking on, banging down the door.
mm, yeah, my
Either that,
recent obsession, Shetland. I don't know if you ever watched Shetland,
I haven't watched it, no, but go
but
on.
it's basically like a Scottish crime drama, and it's just set on the Isles of on the island of Shetland and sort of all the surrounding isles, and you just think like, how is there that much crime in 7 series? But like, it's just brilliant. Like, it's
Seven
maybe because I'm
series.
Scottish.
It's just
Biased.
one small aisle.
Yeah, but it's so good, and I just, yeah, there's something about crime drama that I love as well. So I mean, anything like that, I would just, yeah, I'd be very, very happy to do. But then I've played two brides in the last 6 months, so maybe I'm giving off different energy.
Always the bride, never the
Literally,
detective.
always get married.
Or what if you were the bride
Mm,
and you were murdered as part of one of these detective
yeah,
shows,
maybe that's gonna be
and
my
then
next one.
all the flashback scenes were you, and it's all that mystery.
Yeah, I mean that would be fun.
Mm,
I mean, I would even
mm.
be a bot. I know one of the mums I nannied for. She was the body in Silent Witness. So she was the dead body at the beginning. It was on the table. And I was like, that'd be a great one to have. You don't
Would
even have to
it?
have any life, just lie there and get paid.
Okay, how I don't know how they do it though, because like, obviously they're lifeless, they're not moving. But even the
Yeah.
smallest amount of breaths, like you're gonna see your stomach or your chest move.
Yeah, you just have to breathe out, I think, and just try and hold your breath.
Just hold your breath as long as you can.
They can do a lot of good things, I think. I mean, they'll take a lot of takes. It'll probably slow it down a bit, but yeah, it's clever, the thing. Some things I watch, it baffles me. I'm like, how have they done that with like this, that, and that? Like the 1917 film with George Mackey.
Mm,
Um, was done in I think it was supposed to be done in one continuous shot, but I think they had one blackout, and that was literally just continuously shooting. And you just think
yeah,
like, what? How do they do that? Like, how do they set up the sets and everything? But
yeah. The
um,
spectacle, it's so creative. It feels like they're breaking new
mm,
ground constantly in terms of different
yeah,
ways of shooting, and they're all just trying to outdo each other non-stop. Where even thinking back,
mm,
not even that long ago, like you look at some movies which were cinema worthy back in the early to mid 2000s compared to now, it's
hmm,
like, oh my god, everything
yeah,
that's in the cinema now pretty much has to be a spectacle.
yeah.
But
It
I
has
mean,
to be, yeah, because it's so much with streaming platforms as well that if it's not like got the PR and the marketing to go with it and like things on social media to push it, then people just aren't going to the cinema. So it's sad, but it's also good that like when you do go, you know that you're gonna see something good now.
well, no, you'd hope so, you'd think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, still though. I mean, it's great with all the streaming platforms though, because you now have a choice of what you want to watch, but almost kind of takes away that element of you don't know. Like, how long do you spend scrolling through Netflix or Disney Plus or Amazon or
Mm.
whatever it might be to find the perfect thing that you're ready for? Like, you're like, oh, this,
Yeah.
I'm feeling this right now. Compared to
Hmm.
beforehand, it's like you've got three options. Which is it going to be? Do you want to laugh, cry, or be scared? Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. That's very
Mm.
true.
And that cinema experience, so like I think it just blows me away, a lot of it. Like it's something I'd never been into it. It's not into it. It's never something I've never been around. Like one thing I don't know if you know too much is like everything you've told me so far is your whole life is revolved around that creativity and that around those people as well. Not just the line of
Mm.
work and the jobs you do, but being around those people who are all involved in that same area. Like that is like that fills up your world. So like just
Mm.
through general osmosis, you're going to pick up a lot of that, and you get to have like a whole life experience throughout media, whether it be at the very top or not. It doesn't matter, because being like exactly what you were saying, coming down to the actual, even if you're an extra, you're around that area, you're in that medium, and that you just pick up the general vibe off of the people that are around you, and you have
Yeah.
no idea who the next person you could meet is. Whether it be like
Yeah.
you might be an extra, but you then also have, let's say, somebody who's just like holding the boom or something like that.
Hmm.
And like you go, like you bump into them, you get chatting, and you go out for a coffee, and like you meet all those people and make great friends with people from that set, from that whole production. And those
Yeah.
are the kind of connections which you don't know if anything could ever come of those things. But at the same time, you don't really care too much, because they're just people that you get on with. There's somebody who's
Hmm.
like you, who's interested in that area, and that you're just building up your world and your connections and your network and your experience and your actual skills as well whilst being there.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely. Like it's so important. Like that. I mean, they always talk about like networking, but until you get like job after job, like I've been self-represented in acting for about 3 going on 4 years, just because I lost my agent during COVID. Um, the year before that, I think when I first left drama school, my agent then moved, so I didn't get taken with her. So everything that I've got has just literally been off my own back. And like my first sort of like pro job, which it was quite funny. I was nannying for quite a well-known actress, and she had this TV show that she was working on, and she had a 7-month-old baby. So we were working, I would bring the baby to set, sometimes we'd be like at the house, and I looked after them for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And they were sort of in the summer at the end of COVID, and I'd gone down to stay with them somewhere to help out. And basically her partner was also a composer. He was like involved in all the music for the show, and they were like really stressing out because they were like, oh, we need this like final track to be done, and we're not going to get like a female singer. Like they really need a female singer before tomorrow, and we were like way out in the countryside. And the mum, who's the actress, just turned to her partner and she went, "Why don't you just get Charlotte to do it?" And then he went, "What, you can sing as well?" And I was like, "Oh, well, like I'm
As
not
well.
just an actor." And I was like, "Oh, I think he just thought I just did acting, like straight acting." And I was like, "No, I like I trained in like musical theatre. I did a bit of classical before that. Like, I was like, I can give it a go." And then so he sort of gave me literally the lyrics on a piece of paper and just him recording it. And then that sort of day, I sort of like took the baby out while I went for a walk. I was like trying to like get this like melody retained in my head. And then they had a like very small studio at the back of the house, so we sort of sat down, and it was like the first professional kind of environment I'd been in. So I was a bit like I was
Wait, how
kind of
old are you
shitting
at
my
this
pants.
time? How old are you at this point?
I was 22, maybe. I think it was COVID. Yeah, I think I was 22. About 4 years ago. Yeah, 22. I think it was 22. But I'd come out of drama school, sort of auditioned for a year and a bit, and then COVID hit, and the whole of the arts just went to shit. So it was quite hard because it was like we were like, what do we do? So they were like, oh, will you like, let's see if we can record this. So we literally recorded it. I kind of copied everything that he'd done in his original track. And he came like running into the room and he was like, oh my God, it sounds sick. Just do that again. Just do that.
That exact
So
thing. Do it again.
I was like, okay, fine. So then I just like, I think we did it again like, in like 5 takes. And then there was one bit we slightly tweaked at the end. But I was kind of like extremely overwhelmed because I was like, what's going on here? I was like, eh? And then he like took it, sent it off to Sky, was the production that it was on. I think it was Sky Atlantic, and they got back, and he was like, yeah, they said they love it. They want to put it like on the track. They want to put it on the soundtrack. It's going to go in episode 8. And I was like, what?
Wait, was this
I
the
wish
I Love
just
Susie one?
yeah, I hate Susie. Yeah,
I Hate Susie. Sorry, I haven't seen the show. I remember I was seeing the thing on your arts page.
yeah.
It
So
was
it was that one, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, I'm so confused. And then like, because I got paid to do it as well. I'd never been like paid for a job where I could like sing, so I was like, this is awesome as well. And then
Was
yeah, and
that
then it
seed
sort of
then? Would you say? Was that little seed which kind of like sprouted from there? That's like, I love this. I want to keep doing this.
yeah, it just made me think like I've just done something that to me felt so insignificant because all I had to do was sit and sing a line for like however many like times that we did it, literally like 5 times. It was so simple. And then it was like, that's great. We're going to send it off to the producer. They love it. It's going in the show. It's going to be on the soundtrack. It's on Spotify. And I was like, huh? Like it just didn't felt very surreal. It felt a bit like imposter syndrome because I was a bit like, how have I done that? But then I was like, this is what I've been trained to do.
Yeah,
But
this
I
is
think it's
you.
so, yeah, so many other professions where like you go to university, you do a grad scheme, you go into that job, you work that job 9 to 5. Whereas with us, I mean, that was probably 2 years out of drama school. I had been auditioning, I had been in front of like casting directors, I had been doing singing lessons, going to dance classes, and I had had nothing. And that was like, you just think like, why do you keep going? But then I did, yeah. And then it was just like little things sort of kept coming in, and I was like, no, I think, and it doesn't, I think it deters a lot of people if they're not in constant work because it's a very
It's
brutal
very
industry to
cutthroat.
not be,
Yeah,
yeah, doing what you love. But I think because I do all these other jobs, I go traveling whenever I want. I have such a lovely like group of friends and family around me supporting me, so it doesn't phase me if I don't get something. And like
yeah.
I think as I've grown older, and definitely in the last couple of years, I've realized that like I could quite happily go and take a 2 year break, go world travel, come back, and then be on, like I can still be on TV. I think when you're younger, you have this mindset of like, my gosh, if I don't break into the industry in 4 or 5 years, then that's me, I'm done. Like I'll be done. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, there's so many people out there who are like, have worked their whole lives, but like you might see them in something on like Apple TV and be like, oh my gosh, where's this new actor from? And it's like, they're not new.
Well,
They've been
yeah,
grafting their whole life. They
yeah.
just are now being recognized on a more global scale.
It's like that thing like nobody's ever seen Morgan Freeman in his 20s when he was younger.
Mm,
Like with
yeah.
acting, especially anything in media. I mean, a lot of people forget one, to get good at it, you've got to keep doing it over and over and over and over and keep practicing. But so much of
Mm.
it is driven by tail events, where just
Yeah.
for yourself, that one moment with on the I hate Susie. I hate Susie. Yeah, I
Mhm.
hate Susie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one moment on there, and it just came from nowhere. That's not something that you had planned. It's not a straight linear
No.
career path. It's a case of, oh, you were just doing this, and because you were around that arena,
Mm.
it kind of opportunity fell to you. Where
Mhm.
you've got to have that luck to have those opportunities come your way, but at the same time, you've got to have the talent, the skill, and the drive to actually take that, and the confidence to take that when it comes
Yeah.
your way. So,
Yeah, I think that definitely been
like you see with so many actors, like so many actors in the past, and now it'll always be the case within acting, within music, within any
mm.
non-linear career path. Is right, you've got to get good and you've got to do it pure. The only thing that's going to keep you doing that is your passion and your love for it, because you love to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's going to keep you doing day after day,
Mm.
regardless of how many times you get knocked back down or slapped in the face. Which is where
Yeah.
that's where the world's being robbed of so many amazing potential actors or musicians or creatives, because of that
Mm.
stress or life being like, oh, you need the money, you need the job, you need the career, and then they've just given up. When if they were to carry on going, who would have known the connections they might have met as an extra on the next set
Mhm.
or whatever it might be. And then that's what's they've got better and better just because they've been doing it for so long. And then, like for yourself, who knows what could be around the corner? Like the just completely random event which could lead to your next role is like, wow,
Yeah.
who knows?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I
Mm.
know.
I know. So who would you have? So wait, sorry. In that line, then, what have you got coming up? Which you've got? Because I know you say you work for the agency and you don't actually know what the roles are exactly straight away.
Yeah. It will literally be a phone call and it will be like, are you available in 2 days' time to be on set in Leavesden at the Netflix studios? And you're like, uh, yeah. And that's the other
Can
thing
be.
is it's like having all of my jobs have to be flexible. So all of my jobs I have to be able to drop like instantly, which is can be quite stressful because you either need to find cover or you need to find people that are understanding enough
Yeah.
that they will help you find cover as well. So I feel very lucky that I do have jobs at the moment now that like support that, and like the family that I nanny for, they're very understanding. I'm there as a spare pair of hands, but I'm not there as like the sole like caregiver for them. Like
Yeah.
it's it's a good environment that I'm in at the moment because yeah, it's very sudden. You can get something that will be like, we need you to learn this Shakespeare self tape for 2 days time, and you're like, okay, and then you're trying to like balance learning the Shakespeare whilst also working because you have to support yourself to pay your rent to
Yeah.
live in London. So the whole lifestyle is just learning how to juggle, which was quite nice about going away on the season. All I did on the ski season
It's
was
just
like
juggle.
just be there, and I didn't have to worry any external factors. Um,
Yeah. Is that probably
so
the
I found
longest
it
time
like
you've had just
kind
one
of relaxed.
consistent job?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a lot of planning, but I think in another life I would be a really good PA.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting all the experience to do it for yourself. So, are all the
Yeah, like
girls you're living with, are they in the same situation? So, can you guys kind of just like help each other out job wise as well? Let's say it was with Bubble and Sif, was it? Um,
so Brush and Bubbles, yeah.
that's the
They
one.
so
Sorry.
my flatmates, they sort of do freelance stuff as well. One of them is a trainer with the gym that I work with, but she's like a working actor. Like she is auditioning all the time, so she typically will take permanent slots of doing reformer Pilates in the evenings or on the weekends. So that if
Yeah.
she gets a tape through, she can do it in the day, or she can go to an audition in the day, and she doesn't have to juggle her schedule too much. So she's good at making her life more easy. And then
We
Maisie
could all
is,
learn a lot from her.
yeah, she works at a live music venue, and again, a lot of jobs in the evening, and it's sort of freelance. So I think that's the key, is just all of our work is freelance.
Mm.
And yeah, it's good. I find it very good working and being around creative people because it pushes me to do more. Like if they're auditioning all the time, I'm like, right, I got to get off my arse. I got to go sit in that coffee shop, and I've got to sit and supply and apply to all of the like open castings at the moment. I've got to like update my headshots. I'm redoing a voice reel myself at the moment, at home, like looking at doing monologues, like just refreshing my brand, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Um, because I would like to have an agent because it does make it a lot easier. Like there'll be stuff that's out at the moment that's good castings and I'm perfect on paper for it. But because I don't have that agent kicking on the door
Yeah.
of these casting directors, it's just me. And a lot of the time it's like trying to break through is quite
Yeah.
tricky. So that's
I
move
suppose
is trying to get some.
those agents are the ones with all the connections. Like they know the right people in the right
Mm,
places,
yeah,
and that's
exactly. They've got relationships with the casting directors as well, which is hard if you haven't worked with them a lot.
yeah. So how does it go? How do you go about getting an agent then? Do you get an agent through an agency, or like how does that process go about?
So typically, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. If you're like working in something, then they can approach you, which is like heavenly. You think, gosh, I didn't have to do any groundwork for that. But the process that I'll be taking is very much like sending out an email, probably like you would apply for any kind of job of this is who I am, this is what I can offer, what can you offer me? Do you want to have a meeting type thing?
Hmm.
But I probably if I sent about like eight, say I sent like 80 emails, I'd probably hear from about maybe 10 of them, and probably
Yeah.
eight of those responses would be, oh, thank you so much, you look great, but our books are closed. And then two of them might be like, oh, maybe contact us next month or something, you know? So
Yeah.
it's we're just industry is just oversaturated. Like there's so many actors and so many, like
Yeah.
it's hard to find what makes you different. Like I try and stick to the Scottish as much as I can, and I do have to
Is that
ham up my
your
accent, and
your
I do,
niche?
yeah, and I think,
I notice that so much. So sometimes when I hear you talk, I hear that Scottish come through, and sometimes it
yeah,
sounds more or less like you're just like like you're on Bridgerton. It's
yeah,
like
I
sometimes you
think
turn it on,
from
sometimes you turn it off. I know
yeah,
you are Scottish through and through, but
mm,
you're not. You don't sound like it. There's something
I
off
think
there.
my dad's from Reading, so he always used to bash into us that we should be pronouncing our R's and elongating everything. And then I moved down to London when I was 18. So, and I've always lived with English people since then. So, what's quite nice is the gym I work at is a lot of Scottish people. So, when I've been at work with certain people, my flatmates can tell and they'll be like, were you working with this person today? Because they have a thicker accent. Um, but yeah, I think I'd love to just work in Scottish TV as well. Like so much of the stuff I love watching is sort of like Scottish crime dramas and lots of things on like iPlayer and ITV that do really well. So I'd love like an agent that can sort of get me in the room for those things as well.
Yeah,
Um, that would definitely be something cool. I'd love to do.
yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's got to be different looking at Scottish roles versus looking at predominantly English roles. Because if you go to, well, it's the same with any kind of media. Like if you go to another country and they're filming for or trying to cast a English person or a Scottish person, they want like the most extravagant version of that person possible.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, we watched. Have you watched Anyone But You at the cinema yet?
No, I've heard, no, my flatmate went to see it though. Yes, the one
No.
with Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. Go watch it. But
Yeah.
obviously, we're out in Australia at the
Mhm.
moment, and we know a lot of the
Yeah.
locations that they've been at.
Oh,
They have
really?
done
Okay.
the Australians so dirty in terms of their
Oh,
accents and their lifestyle and how they are. It is just the quintessential effect. Let's be
and
honest here,
America.
effectively
Yeah.
racist way of putting them
And
across.
yeah.
Yeah, like the thickest accents, the strongest like lifestyle things, and it's like this is just not like we've been here now, and it almost feels like they're just I almost said normal people. Then it almost seems like it's just like we're all just the Western world's the Western world. But then for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, bringing that back, like as you're saying, toning up that Scottish is something that you have to do. Do you feel that sometimes you have to go against yourself in order to be more of a niche role to have that character?
To be Scottish or to be English?
Both and both directions.
But
Like because obviously
kind of like,
you are technically a mix of both, even though you're Scottish proud
mm,
in terms of how you come across to me anyway. Obviously, you come across to your Scottish
yeah,
friends and family differently. But then again,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
I'm not the most English person ever. I'm like the more Midlands, so
yeah. I think, well, usually, so if stuff comes through in a casting brief and it says own accent, I will do my own, but heightened in Scottish accent. Um,
okay.
because if they're wanting something different, or if I'm like, oh, and I'd rather come across with that edge. Um, but some things might be like neutral, or they might say like RP, which is like royal pronunciation. Oh, I really hope I've got that right. They teach that in drama school,
Just
which RP is
the
like
Queen's English.
fine. Yeah, what you'd find in like Bridgerton, like any kind of period drama where it's like very eloquent
Yeah.
and things. I think I try and be as natural, but as natural Scottish as I can, because I'm trying to stay to my roots to say, because a lot of that's
Mm.
kind of like one of the things that is my USP, I guess I could say, that I'm trying to sort of
Trying to push.
hone in on.
Well, that's where
Yeah.
that dilemma's got to be for yourself, surely. Where in order to be that kind of eye catching for an audience
Mm.
or for a director or an agent, do you feel like you have to kind of do something completely unique for yourself that you've kind of perfected or honed in on, like a certain style or a certain, like you get it a lot of in comedic actors where they have that their own kind of style, which is like, right, this is them, and therefore if a certain group or demographic like this, then we're going to keep pushing this, or we're going to pick this person because of the role we have in mind. And even further down the
Yeah.
line, we're going to write a character with this person in mind. Like a perfect
Hmm.
example being someone like Jim Carrey.
Mm.
Like the only person who can play a Jim Carrey role is Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So like, is it like that constant
Hmm.
battle with yourself? It's like, right, I need to be a specific person, or I need to be generalized for a wider audience.
I think it depends on the production, kind of how the creative team are like approaching it, like with in like just from the experience that I've had on it, like the Bollywood character that I had. So the sort of synopsis that I was given on her was that she was quite troubled. She'd had a very privileged life, but it had gone so far the other way that she um, had suffered with like mental health problems, and she was an artist. I think the key things were she had suffered with mental health, so she'd had like suicidal tendencies. She was an artist, and she'd found love in basically a guy who was a busker who was very much making his own money. So they were kind of trying to come away from this very rich, wealthy family.
Mm.
Um, but apart from that, I didn't get told anything about like her personality traits or like how she like felt about her family. Like I very much had to create that in my own head.
So
And
is that
because
very
I
much
didn't,
you then, as a character, just dropped in that situation?
I think it was kind of like the character that I made for her. Um, but I mean, I didn't really get much, so it was quite hard. Like the script that I got given was all in Hindi, so I a lot of the time I didn't even know what my character story was, because they gave us a translated version, but it was like very um it was kind of watered down because it would just be the scenes that we were in. And then I would kind of speak to my ice cream mum, who'd been given the whole thing, and she sort of spoke a bit of Hindi. And I'd be like, what is going on in this scene? Because I have no idea. And Bollywood films, they love to be very dramatic, and they love to kind of have every kind of aspect of a storyline. So they'll be like, someone's being murdered, someone's in love, someone's proposing, someone's like running away. Like it's all these different, and then it's also a music video at the same time. Um, and she would be sort of being like, yeah, no, so like I've just been hit by a bus, and then you're in hospital speaking to your dad, but he's like not your dad. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, okay. So I'd be like trying to react in a way that's sort of like not so over the top, because for screen you have to be as minimal as you can, because um it's very different to theatre.
Even in
So
Bollywood?
it was like trying to work. Yeah, well, yeah. Some of the Bollywood actors, you'd be like, oh, are they acting? Or like, are they having an argument? It'd be quite hard to tell on set. But
You can't see if the
like,
cameras are rolling or not.
no times we'd have to like speak to some of the people who are a bit more bilingual, and if like something got heated, and we'd be like, are they rolling? Are they filming this? And they'd be like, no, 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 the two lead actors are having an argument, and we'd be like, what? um, so, but I think it's just it's kinda like what I mentioned before, it's just taking a bit of yourself and putting it into the surroundings of what has been set up for that character, unless you've been complete freedom and they've sort of said, "Roll with it, make something up that you want," but most of the time you'll get a general background of, like, this is who they are, this is their situation, this is maybe how they'd be feeling, and then you can kind of base it off that, which is good because it helps you sort of create your world that you want to be in. Um, but it is, some of them are harder to sort of come by than others. Like when I was the bride, well, I've never been married before. I don't know what it's like to sort of. But then I kind of think like, well, just imagine if it was like my sister getting married. Like maybe I'd be more like emotional about watching that. So I'll just imagine that I'm like watching my sister put a ring on someone's finger, like walking down an aisle. But if this set if it's set up well, then I think it really helps. Like the um
Like the
one of the
realism
scenes we
to
did,
drop you into it.
was exactly, it was quite intimate in the Bollywood film, and it was one of kind of my only scenes in the film. And she was like in this sort of dressing room, I think, before the wedding, and they were like, it has to be a very raw and sort of like the characters were very alone. None of her families come to her wedding, so just kind of like put yourself in that situation. So, and sometimes it's like quite overwhelming because you get yourself into this sort of state, and you have to like be aware that they're either about to start rolling or they're about to start sort of shout action, and you're like, I have to work it up, but then also they might say stop, reset, and then you're like, okay, gotta go back to that again. So it's like dropping in and out of it can be quite hard if it is like an emotional scene,
So
or if it's a funny scene.
do you really put yourself into that kind of heightened sense of feeling then? I know
Yeah,
some
I've not done it many times, but yes, in the times
mm,
I have.
that's gotta be very taxing though, because I know well, obviously you hear some actors like to just like they can just switch it on and off. It's like, "Right, yeah, it's nothing, it's fine." Especially
Mm,
actors who do more I don't wanna say mundane, because every character's got their own depth to them, but they aren't as
yeah.
flamboyant in their own expression of that. But when you
Mhm.
see like, it's gonna be very, very taxing to say, "Right, I'm gonna put myself in this really heightened sense and feeling of emotional damage, or love, or
Mm,
humor, or
mhm.
depression, or whatever it might be." But surely the body knows no different. The body and the brain knows no different if you're just putting yourself in those situations. Like, if
Mhm.
you're put like, yes, you know deep down it's acting, but in order to come across as if you're not acting, which is obviously always the aim, you are
Yeah.
feeling those emotions. Like, at the end of the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
that's gotta be a case of, right, I'm just completely drained by the end of it.
Mhm. I think, yeah, it depends how obviously harrowing your scenes are. Like I mean, this was really wasn't that long, so I was sort of like tapping into it, then coming out of it. Like you take a breath, you walk off set, you'd be fine. Whereas my flatmate was in a very successful play called Jerusalem,
Oh, nice.
about a year and a half ago, 2 years, on the West End, and the lead was a man called Mark Rylance, and he was phenomenal. In one of the final scenes, he's sort of like drenched in blood. He's been crying. He's been banging on this drum, and like as an audience member, you're like in flooded balls of tears. And he used to come out off the stage, and he would go into his dressing room, and I think he'd shower, but he would just everyone knew that he had to be left alone for about 20 minutes, just
Fuck.
because it would be like he would get himself into such a state that he would then have to just go and like decompress, and he
My
just like
god.
needed that time to like come back. So yeah, I guess it just depends how what the script is, what everything is, sort of, but
Oh my
yeah.
god. Like, it's because obviously you hear the stories of, different actors in the past, like, oh, it
Mm.
evades I can't think of it at the moment because it's still early for me. But actors who've
Mm.
taken their own lives and stuff like that from being in deep in a character for
Mm.
sometimes years on end, where they've got to really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Heath Ledger, that's the one, Heath Ledger. Like,
Mhm.
obviously the
Yeah.
really extreme tales of those kind of characters.
Mhm.
But even on like a lower level, that skill of being able to put yourself emotionally in a certain place, it's also, I'd
Mhm.
say, just as much of a skill to be able to compartmentalize that and then drop it at an instant. So I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
might be able to bring themselves up to that level, but then to kind of
Yeah.
say, okay, that's over now. It's like, what?
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes you just need, like You need like a minute or 20 to just be like, okay, back down to reality. Where are we? What are we doing? Speaking to, you know?
Yeah,
But that's what's nice about shows. It's just one and done. And then you go again the next night. I mean, it's like 8 shows a week. It's still very intense. But that's
yeah,
why, yeah, you do watch some things on TV and think, gosh, how many takes did they have to do? But if
yeah,
it's right, hopefully, any.
yeah. Of course. What would you go back to doing theatre then? Would you like to go back to doing theatre,
No,
or are you more interested in
I mean,
doing TV and movie?
I think I love theatre. I think I'm just not so much musical theatre. Um, I mean, I love singing. I started out singing when I was sort of in secondary school. I got put through singing lessons, and then I started drama, and then was like, oh, this is fun, and then found musical theatre. But like any like national theatre plays is like that would be another huge like goal of mine to do something there. Um, and yeah, I just think as I've sort of gone through the industry, I think the foundation of why I love it is because of acting. Singing is
Mm.
amazing and it's like such a lovely way to express yourself. But I think I relate to TV and film and straight plays more than sort of the whole musicals are great fun, but I'm just not as drawn to the whole like tits and teeth is what we call it as well. So
Yeah,
that's
the
sort
whole
of like
blasé kind of putting
and
yourself there.
I think I'm just not so much suited to that. Um, but I mean, if somebody offered me a role in a musical in the West End, I would absolutely not turn it down. I think it would be an incredible opportunity. Um, but yeah, I mean, even to do that 7, 8 shows a week to sort of dance every night and sing, and it's like a workout, a marathon
It is a
itself.
full-on workout as well. Did you hear that stuff about Lizzo
Yeah.
before doing her shows? Because she
Oh,
obviously
maybe I don't know.
so her fans apparently. So obviously when she was on her tour, there's a lot of like
Uh-huh.
choreography, singing and dancing every day on tour.
Yeah.
Her fans were getting pissed off at her because she was losing so much weight because she's supposed to represent that demographic.
Yeah.
And her fans were
Yeah.
saying, "How dare you lose that weight?" But then she's
Mhm.
had to come out and apologize and say, "I'm sorry, it was unintentional. It was unintentional
It
losing
is
that
hard.
weight." But she's just been on stage
Yeah.
every single day, dancing and moving around. Like
Mhm.
it is a full lifestyle workout.
Mhm. Yeah, but someone said to me that Taylor Swift, apparently when she preps for her tours, what she'll go and run on the treadmill and sing her songs full out, and that's how she like builds her stamina. Um,
Mm. Yes, it makes a
which I
lot of
think
sense.
is correct.
Do you have any
Mm.
weird kind of practicing rituals for when you're doing your lines? Is it kind of like, right, quiet room, no one else there? Or do you need to have
Not
people
I just
around you whilst you're doing it?
I think repetition is my best friend when I do it. Just trying to get it in my body, figuring out where I'm placing like what person, where my like eye line's going. Um, but yeah, I think for me it's more remember because yeah, it makes a big difference if you're sort of like script reading while you're taping, or
Mm.
if you know it off the and you can take a nice clean cut. I guess.
Yeah. But then how much leeway do you get there with the lines? Obviously, at different levels of your career, you have different things because
Mm,
whenever I've ever had to try and read something from a script to say to somebody, like I'm
mm,
thinking different sales jobs I've had where they want me to carry out read a script. It's like it never sounds natural, it never sounds real, it never sounds like I've actually said it. It's like I'm reading this and because I'm
mm,
trying to remember it while saying it, it doesn't quite click or resonate.
yeah.
Whereas if I can change it a little bit and have the general information in there, then I'm going to be, for the most part, I'm going to be okay. Do you have that
Mm.
same kind of issue, or is it like, okay, no, this is the line, I've got to
I
stick with
think
it?
well, it probably depends how good the script is and what like stage directions you've got, but also like I guess finding the different sort of like truths or like lights or darks in it. And I think the more that the more that I find if I've like read a script a couple of times and then I'll be like, oh, wow, I think I quite like the way that I put the emphasis on this part or putting the emphasis more towards the most important part of it.
Hmm.
Um, maybe, I guess. I think that's, yeah, probably what I would say.
No, it makes sense. It does make sense. I'm just trying to think how I would. how I would put myself into that situation for it, because I feel like as soon as I'm trying to remember it, I'm just stumbling over it straight away. It's the same reason why doing any
Mhm.
podcast or conversation, if I have to try and think, maybe it's just because I'm a bit thick, a bit stupid, if anything. I can't hold two things in my mind at one point. So I'm like, okay, right, if I'm not focused, like with you right now, if I'm not focused on the conversation, I'm not gonna know
Mm.
what I'm gonna say. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trip over it. If I have in my mind, oh, I need to ask this or I want to ask this, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
get it at all. It's like it's not gonna sound fluid. It's gonna sound disjointed in essence.
Mm.
So I don't know
Yeah,
whether or
no,
not.
yeah, completely.
Mm. But then saying that, being on stage, have you ever had any of those kind of moments in theatre, especially when you're beforehand, where you've kind of forgotten your lines, or like you've been stuck there and
What?
it's like I have no idea, and you just felt like the
I
world's gonna
don't-
like suck you in.
Yeah. I think, well, you'd hope that you have a good enough company around you that you get your lines. They kind of save you a bit.
Mm.
I don't know if it necessarily ever happened to me that badly. I know in drama school probably, but a lot of the time, like they depend on someone in the wings with a script, and they'll prompt, or you can as an actor, you some actors literally just shout line, and then they'll just come out of it. They'll hear the line, and then they'll just go back into it again. Especially if it's like pretty chunky text, and it's if you're on stage for however many, if you're on front stage for like a couple of hours and you've got a huge script,
Yeah,
a lot of actors will they'll have someone at the side if they need it, and they'll just literally shout line, and you think as an audience member how weird, but then you just have to remember that like you are watching a production of someone putting on like a
yeah,
recreation of something. Well, it's not going to be perfect. Um, so I think yeah, that's a lot of people do that. I don't think I've ever had anything that dramatic yet.
yes. Just wait till you're there. You get those West End
Yeah,
shows. You're in front of thousands of
yeah,
people every night, and then out of
yeah.
nowhere, your mind just blanks completely. Have those,
Hmm.
have one of those complete blackout moments where you just freeze and have no idea what's going on.
Mm.
Not to put that in your
Gosh.
head or anything like that for next time, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
No.
But if
Yeah.
that would add a little bit to the production, if I were to see that whilst I went to go watch it.
Value for
No,
money.
you would be. Just add a little bit of comedic value to it.
Mhm.
No, but then when it comes to the shows, like I've never really been one to go and watch a theatre show, but every year since I was a
Mhm.
kid, my gran would pay for like a Christmas product. Well, it was a Christmas present for everyone, the whole family, where she would
Fun.
say, "Okay,
Yeah.
come the new year, we're all going to go watch the panto or like some kind of production
Mhm.
locally." And
Yeah.
I can see the charm to it. Like one time we were watching I think it was like the Borrowers. I think it was. Yeah, it was the Borrowers.
Mhm.
And the actual it was in the round, and the production how they did it was incredible because he had all of these massive sets, and he was trying to people were being swung up into the air and all the lines
Mhm.
across them, and he was like really trying to paint the picture as if you were like a really small person in this world that's all
Yeah.
the way around you, and adding that element to it in theatre compared to on the screen
Mhm.
seems like it's a lot more of right because on the screen, yeah, there's different tricks you can play, and it's like very right cut, play, cut, record. Right,
Mhm.
we're gonna piece it together afterwards so it looks incredible. And sometimes,
Mm.
especially in newer films where you see so much CGI, the majority of it is literally just in like a green room, and like there's nothing there other than the cameras.
Mhm.
It's like going to be hard to put yourself in that scenario. When you're
Mm.
in theatre, everything is pretty much made to be as if you were there already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that side of it.
It's very it's weird when you go on a set and you realize that like when I've seen some of the productions on like the final edits of them versus what the set was like, and it is just strange because you just think like we're literally just on a back street in South London, but it looks like we're in Marylebone or like Mayfair. Like it is wild the world that they create, and they make it look so much bigger, and then you see it and you're like, oh, like even when you watch the monitor, you're like, my gosh, this is such high definition. You're like, wow, that must be a really like nice place, and it's like not really. They've just made it look good. Like they know how to make it look good. Um,
Yeah, that's like an
Yeah.
art form in its own right. Like the whole setting a scene for it is great. But anyway, just
Mm.
to move away from that, the acting a little bit and that kind of stuff. Because obviously you mentioned beforehand that you wanted, like, if you wanted to, you could take some time off to go and travel. Like you could go and travel somewhere, and you can go and like take a break, and you can come back into acting another time.
Mhm.
Is that something you're planning on doing at the moment, or something that's kind of like it's a fallback option?
Yeah, it's always well, it's always I've always loved traveling. Like I did after my first year at drama school, I did Camp America for 2 consecutive summers. And that was sort of my first real sort of time that I was away from the UK and also like working abroad and just being in like a very environment. And it was incredible. And I think it just really made me like, I think it just opened up my eyes to being like, there's so much more than being in the UK. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
yeah, I think it just, I really wanted it to stay part of my lifestyle, even though it is quite hard because we can't necessarily, we could book a holiday and then you could book a job and have to change the holiday. So it's very, I do a lot of more stuff last minute, I would say, when I kind of have like a safety net there, like but then things like during the season, I was very committed to being like, okay, I'm going away for 6 months. Nothing is gonna
get
get
in
in
the
the
way
way
of
of
that.
that.
Yeah,
Unless the director brings me up and wants me in his next feature film, but I really highly doubt that's gonna happen.
is
Um,
that see you
but
later? Dropping the kids off at the top of the
yeah,
piece, leaving at the top of party on the piece. It's like, nah, see you later, guys.
no, yeah. So it was it's yeah, finding a balance of going away and then but then I think since doing my season, I was always quite scared to leave London because I thought, gosh, if I leave for like traveling and I end up like living abroad, like what if I never come back to it and I'll kind of look like a failure or like I haven't succeeded in like acting. And I think doing the season opened my eyes up to being like nothing really happened when I went away for 5 months. Like I've come back and I've booked like I booked like one of the biggest jobs I've done since in the first month of coming back. So I was a bit like, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, this year I've got some trips that I want to do, and I've never really done any of sort of Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and so many people that I know are like going over there for like a year, 2 years, and I'm like, oh, I'm
I
like,
can
my
I can
sister
vouch
lives.
for it. Where
Yeah,
does she live?
so
Sorry.
I think she lives in Geraldton in Perth at the moment. She's lived there for about 2 years. Um, they sort of like travel around Oz in itself, but yeah, it's just and my best friend's just left for New Zealand, so yeah, it's I feel like I'm getting a lot of signs from the universe to be like, you need to go.
I'm calling you from Sydney right now, just like, come on,
Yeah,
you know you want
yeah,
to.
yeah.
It's
One of
very
my
so.
closest like Meg from the season as well. She's obviously
Yeah.
in Oz too, so she's coming back next this month. Actually, we're gonna go back to the Three Valleys for a ski trip for a couple
Oh,
weeks.
sweet.
Pretty epic, but yeah, so it's just times like that that I've like a lot of castings have come through for March, like short films, and I've been like, I'm not even going to apply because I don't want to apply
Mm,
and then be seen for it and then have to let them down. So I've been like, okay, blocking those 2 weeks off, it's fine, like I'll do something another time.
yeah,
So yeah, but have it the term itchy feet, I think I relate to quite a lot.
yeah. I mean, like, well, this is the same for anyone. I feel like who's done a season. Like, once they've
Mm,
done it, they get that kind of, they get that itch for travel
yeah.
and to go and be somewhere else. And like that, exactly what you said
Mhm.
about being at home. When
Yeah.
you realize very quickly that, oh, not much has changed. Like you'll go back and you'll speak to your family and friends and say, oh, what have I missed?
Mm.
What's happened? Like you feel like so much happens, and you get back and straight away they go, yeah, nothing. It's same old. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Same
you've
way,
been
yeah.
out living like a whole new life, and it feels like you've lived a life within a
Mhm,
life in a short
mhm.
6 month period, or however long you're away, because you had to learn all these new things. You're in a new area, all these new friends, new commitments, new responsibilities, new everything. And then you get back and you expect everything to be different or to be like at least change a little bit. But you get back and you really think,
Mm,
hang on, I haven't missed much. I could go
yeah.
again to somewhere else, which is like exciting and intriguing, and think, do you know what? Yeah,
Mm.
this is a bit of me.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I think, yeah, definitely relate on that, I think. Yeah, it's just yeah, I think I've put so many trips off. Not like that I won't do it, but I've put them off to the like this age now where I'm like, no, I'm just gonna go and do it now. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll make
So,
it.
'cause yeah, 'cause you come across as somebody anyway to me, and please tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but you come across as somebody who's like, when you've got your mindset on something or to do something, you will go and do it, which you kind of have
Hmm.
to be within the industry that you're in anyway.
Yeah,
Because if you
yeah,
didn't have that
exactly.
go-getter attitude, it just nothing would ever
Mm,
happen for you.
yeah,
Like,
no,
so
I think it's true. What I think about is if I say I'm gonna do something, then I'm like, well, I have to do it now. So
mm.
like, I kept saying to everyone, like, I think I'm gonna do ski season. I think I'm gonna do ski season. Then I'm like, I started applying for jobs for ski season. I actually got a job, so I'm gonna.
You're like, "Whoa, whoa, wait, this is happening? What?" Yeah,
Yeah, and then they're like,
it's
oh,
a blessing and a curse, though.
yeah,
It's a real
yeah.
blessing and a curse. Like, I said it for ages, I wanted to come and do Australia in a van before COVID.
Mm,
COVID hit, and I was
mhm.
like, I mean, I was saying it for probably about 3 years before coming out to do it. Well, so before COVID hit. It was always on the mind, it was always like, that was what I wanted to do. And then COVID hit, and I was like, "Fuck, like, the option isn't always there. I've actually got to go and do it, or else I might not be able to do it."
Mm,
So the seasons came first, and then this came afterwards. Like, right now's the time to go and
yeah.
do it because we're the same age,
Mhm.
aren't we? So it's like, right
Mm.
now we've got to go and do it and like make that work. But then for yourself, I was saying, okay, because of the industry you're in and the stuff that you're passionate about, do you feel that kind of restriction still of, oh, you need to be doing this, or else, as fun as travel is, it's not going to lead anywhere? Or is it very much a case of, right, fuck it, YOLO?
I think yeah, YOLO.
Yeah,
I think
run it back.
it's well, I know that well, I've got like other I've as well as like going to traveling, I've always wanted to do a yoga course and potentially be a yoga teacher. So I'm
Oh,
kind of
sweet.
like looking at incorporating that into it as well. Um, and I've never really like just lived anywhere long term abroad, but I don't know. I think because we can't really plan like we don't really have career plans in acting,
Mm,
so very sort of flexible and relaxed when it comes to stuff like that. Both my sisters are in very different careers, and I think they sort of have rough plans of where they sort of want to end up. Whereas my plan is like, I mean, I'd just be happy with like converting something and having a base somewhere maybe, but like living abroad, living in different cultures, like maybe yeah doing some incredible acting jobs with a base, but like it's not the be all end all. Like I think I've just learned to accept that what is meant for me won't go by me. That classic quote. But
yeah.
I think yeah, I'm not that bothered about it anymore. I'm just very happy to experience what I experience, and I don't think having a plan phases me. Whereas I think when you're younger, there's such pressure of being like, oh my gosh, like I've got to be like in a job, saving for a house, buying a house. Like so many of my friends are like settling down, getting engaged, kids, and I'm like I could not be further from any of that, which I'm so happy for them. I love them and I support them very much. But I'm just on a very different path, I think.
Yeah, everyone has their own path of that, though, like 100%. It's not like you're
Mm,
going to miss out on anything else because there's always an opportunity cost for everything you do. So you've got
yeah.
that right now, the experiences that you're having, I'm sure a lot of your friends are looking at and thinking, wow, fucking hell, Char's got this going on. I wish I could be a bit
Mm,
more like her or have some of these things in my life. In the same way that you're thinking, like, it must be nice to have like a nice base family
yeah.
and like kids and a career and whatnot. But you chose the path you chose
Hmm.
because that's what you're passionate and you loved. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's all. I
Mhm.
find that hard for myself at times, thinking, right, if I do this, it means I'm not going to be able to do this. It's
Yeah.
not so much of which one
Sacrifice.
do I want to do the most, but which one do I not mind sacrificing
Hmm.
as well at the same time. But at the same time, trying to figure out a way that I can have that kind of slight progression, even if it's very slight over time, whilst doing this, like the lifestyle I want to live.
Mm.
So, like,
Mm.
obviously, with yourself, I've seen the TikTok stuff you do as well. Do you not see like that kind of newish media being a part of how you can carry on that progression and career and getting your name out there whilst
Oh my gosh,
doing?
yeah. Like, I would love to, like, if someone said, "You can just go and be a little globetrotter and make TikToks out of it," I'd be like, "Great." If
Yeah,
that
be a
pays me,
TikTok girly.
then yeah, honestly, like, if I could get, like, a content creation job, like, on the go, oh, that'd be great. But
Well,
then, I mean,
even
everything's
not even I mean, that's the hard part of, especially with obviously acting and like content creating in general. Like, there's no strict path to it, and there's no guarantee and no promise. But you're in a great
mm,
position having your friends around you at the moment. Like, is it the four of you?
mhm.
Sorry, yeah, the four of you in the house.
Yeah, 3 of us.
So three of you, or three and you.
Mhm,
Like, you're in a great position. All you guys being in acting, you could like very well, if you've got the time, create your own like mini productions where
yeah,
it's not like the typical TikTok like trend type voiceovers and
yeah,
like music and skits and whatnot. But like you can make your own
mhm,
like mini funny comedy or even more in depth productions like for all of you, for the three of you, and like that's something you can continue to do even for yourself. Like if you were in Sydney or in Australia or New Zealand or in Asia, and like I feel like with today's day anyway, I'm just thinking it from an agent's point of view, or like like they want people who are going to pull views, pull numbers, and even have
mm,
their own form of advertising as well,
mhm,
which you see a lot. Like you see, I've personally seen so many. Let's say, okay, they're more influencers and personalities, but they've had so many
mhm.
roles, even if they are bit part roles, because of the fact that they can bring something to the table which isn't just skill. Like it's the
Yeah,
audience is tangible. Like if you're bringing an audience to an idea, like especially like marketing, adverts, or whatever it might be, if you can bring
mhm,
an audience to it, then like you've got another USP as opposed to somebody who might be more talented but not have that kind of USP to their name.
yeah, definitely.
I was gonna say because I've seen little bits and bobs of what you've done beforehand, and I'm like, you should definitely do something. You should definitely do something,
Yeah,
regardless. Like instead of having to wait for a role or an opportunity to come your way, you can still do that whilst having
mm,
your own kind of output where like you're trying to draw things towards you or put yourself out there as well.
yeah,
Even if it's like
definitely.
the behind the scenes of like, or what you
Yeah,
can record behind the scenes of what you're doing, like what actors get up
I
to
have
when the cameras are off and that kind of stuff.
yeah, a couple, and they were in my drafts, and I thought, "No, I don't know about this." I'd have to be like,
Come on,
"Oh, we showed
what's the worst that could happen?
too much of the costume," or I actually don't know because we don't sign. I don't think we sign an NDA, but who knows?
I'm just saying, I think it could be a great idea. Especially with the four of you
Yeah,
there,
no,
you could put together something really like something that other people can't put together
mm,
with your own
yeah,
experience,
no,
your own knowledge of it as well.
oh, 100%, yeah. I think most people would probably just walk into our flat in an evening and think it was a production.
Exactly that. Like you guys could do so much of that, and I feel like it'd only ever go and benefit your own careers having
Mm,
that kind of thing. And
yeah,
like I'm imagining the possibilities of like, what if something like another tail event were to happen where something like one of them went viral, and then that kind of
mm,
skyrocketed you four together, or so you three together, and like maybe you could all three of you would be cast in these certain roles because somebody might see it, some actor or some agent might see it and think you three are the perfect three we're after for this show because of this.
mm,
Because they're seeing more of you. Like obviously you're doing your own personal branding at the moment for the agencies and
mm,
for agents, but then if you saw it as like okay, all the online stuff, the TikTok type stuff and the reels or YouTube or whatever it might be, that's all like personal branding where people are going to get to see more and more of you
yeah,
because
definitely.
you've got a lot to give and a lot to show.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
But I don't know if that was something you'd consider or something you were interested in doing.
Yeah, I think a little part of us always thinks, like, well, at the moment they're doing casting for Dear Evan Hansen, which is like a production. It's about to go on tour, a musical. and they've sort of opened up this avenue and said, we want people to apply on TikTok, and they're literally making people do like just hashtag you will be found, and then we're going to watch the videos and sort of like invite you for a potential audition. But what I think a lot of actors, the reality of that is it is mainly a PR stunt for them, because they
True.
get the word out there, it goes viral, everyone's like talking about it, they're like, what is this, what is that? Whereas in truth, there's obviously it is a great platform that they're using, but I think a lot of actors are quite apprehensive about it, I guess, because we have to pay to be on a lot of like casting websites. Like I'll go directly to the casting director and try and like
Mm.
get my foot in the door that way. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of the time we're a bit like, oh, if they're taking it to TikTok, like they already have enough choice, but they're
Yeah.
doing it as like a PR. But it's kind of how everything works really nowadays.
Yeah. There's PR to it as well, but obviously there's negatives and positives to all of it from it, and especially the time it takes to do it. But in terms of doing it additionally to what you're doing at the moment, I don't see how it could hurt. And it's like putting yourself out there more so. And even if there was a slight following towards it behind that, you're more likely to be seen and pushed towards other people who might potentially have an influence in the market, in the industry. And if they see that more, then they're a lot more likely to think, okay, this person's got exactly what we want. And even from an agent's point of view, like if they see, oh, this person's got some credibility to their name, not just their portfolio, but also their people like this person. If people like this person, then there must be a reason for that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. With you guys anyway, because the three of you together doing it, I think it's just going to be great fun. I'd be thinking that this just seems like it's really fun.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good little life we have here.
I think I like this little life.
Yeah.
No, it's good. And
Exactly.
especially now going on the ski trip back to the Three Valleys with Meg as well. I need to see Meg at some point out here.
Yeah, I know. Well, she's about to come back here, but then she's going back. She'll come back out to Oz.
What, is she moving out to the UK for work-wise, or just for temporarily, or?
No, just coming for a 4-week holiday.
Oh, nice. That's right. That's very cool.
Yeah.
And then at the end of
Yeah.
that, are you guys going out to the Three Valleys?
Yeah, so we're sort of, I think, going in the middle, sort of at that time. Yeah, where we are then. I think it's sort of in the middle of her stay, when we're heading out, because we were just like, oh, we need to find a time we can both like try and go like skiing, snowboarding together. So it'll be we're really looking forward to it. It'll be fun to like not work.
Yeah. Do you reckon you'll pick up more skiing or snowboarding? Because you moved over to snowboarding nearer to the end.
I'm planning to snowboard because Meg snowboards, but I will take my skis as well, I think. But I'm gonna try because my skiing is pretty good. I'd rather get better at snowboarding
Yeah.
and then be good.
But then when you've got 2 weeks, or even just a week, it's kind of like, do you want to spend that time learning to snowboard, or would you rather spend that time just bombing it down in skis?
I know.
'Cause
Well, Meg snowboard, and then I got to probably like between sort of like a intermediate level on snowboarding, I guess. On the
the,
powder days. On the powder days, I'd throw
the
myself down red.
the very few that we had, yeah.
Yeah.
The very few powder
But no,
days
I
we
have
had.
lots of protective shorts because I'm not dealing with the falls this time.
Have you seen those little turtles people wrap around the bum? Like
Yeah,
the strap around so
yeah,
you fall over backwards.
yeah.
Those are the ones you
No,
need. It
yeah,
looks
exactly.
like, yeah. No, those are
Yeah,
awesome.
literally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be good.
No,
I know
so yeah, very.
Thingy's mine is still out there at the moment, isn't she? She went out with Ski Vertigo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's having a great time, I think, by the looks of it.
Yeah. No, all of it. I mean, it's good. I'd love to go again. We're looking to do a season next year, but more so, we're trying for Japan. We don't know if visas are going to allow it, but that'd be pretty cool. But even
Japan's
then, though,
unreal.
I know, because the powder out there would be awesome. But yeah, I'm sure you're going to have a great time with Meg coming back, and you'll show her everywhere, show her the ropes, the UK again, and then back out.
Definitely.
No, that'd be good
Yeah,
fun. It'd be good
I
fun, and I
know.
hope to see you out here as well at some point if the call for Australia and the Southern Hemisphere is strong enough.
It is. I think it's so strong it might be the end of this year.
Ooh, oh, I don't know if we'll cross. I don't know if we'll cross Southeast Asia though. Yes, end of this year.
Maybe.
That'll be ace. That we're looking
Yeah.
at doing that from September until December.
Oh my god. So fun.
So if you're out in those areas and come and give us a shout, and we'll have to meet up for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that'd be
Mm.
awesome.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for coming on though, Charlotte.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It's nice to pick the brains of somebody who's like in that very elusive industry, which not many people get to see.
Weird.
Yeah, not many people get to see behind the curtain of how it goes on, and it's like, oh, we
Yeah,
only see the flashy side of it.
yeah, I think I forget how, like, mad it is. I just think it's kind of sometimes it's a bit normal to me now, and I'm like, "No, that's not normal." I have to
Yeah,
remember.
no, I get the sense that I'm asking you all these things, and I'm like, whoa, this is so cool, and you're like, this is just life, babe.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's been really interesting, and like it's it's cool. I like it a lot.
Nice. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not sure what time it is back over in the UK. Is it like what 10:30, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
indeed.
it's 9:30 in the morning now, so I hope you have a good night, a good night's sleep. I've got a full
Yeah,
day ahead of me.
yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much anyway, though.
You're so welcome. See you soon.
See you soon. See you later. Take care.